I don't mind the Boston fans. I just like to get even sometimes, and what better way would it be to do it against one of Boston's own?
This is the Schmo with the Pro. He's 23-4. He's got the record for most successful victories as champion in the Bantamweight division. He's the Funkmaster, Aljamain Sterling in the flesh inside your studio. How we doing?
Doing good. It's a beautiful day here in Vegas, and the future's looking bright.
You've been a world traveler. You've been everywhere around the world. You're finally back home here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, back home in Las Vegas. Super excited to get back on track, get back in the gym. 1 weekend so far, and looking forward to see what's going to be next.
The newest member of the 145-pound weight division of the UFC, Funkmaster Aljamain Sterling. Look at those guns.
I know. I've been lifting a little bit, getting a little beefy out here in these streets, but we'll see what happens. I'm trying to see what's the name out of the hat that we're gonna go with. I have the name that I want. It's just whether or not he wants it, which I'm sure it is what it is for Max. So he's gonna pick and do whatever he wants. But we'll see what the UFC wants to do. If they want to go this direction, and I think the fans would like to see it. They think that Max is gonna set a record on me. So I'm just saying, bring it.
Max Holloway, he's the one who's wanting to fight Justin Gaethje for that BMF title, wanting to go up in weight. Here you are going up in weight, and you're calling out Max Holloway. The Schmo likes the fight, by the way.
I think it's a good stylistic fight. I don't think he's fought someone with the wrestling pedigree. I mean, he's fought a guy with good grappling, BJJ, but he couldn't get the takedown and get the control that he needed to utilize that grappling. I could utilize the grappling, and I could utilize the wrestling. Just got to be smart, a little bit more patient, not like the last fight, of course. And I think after having this long of a break, I just feel more refreshed, more refined, and I feel like the time off has given me more clarity and get me back to the old me and not making rush mistakes. And I don't know, that fight, it is what it is. It happened. I'm just ready for the next thing.
We'll get to that in one moment, but let's talk about this next thing. When did you know that you were officially going to become a featherweight? When did that decision become final in your head?
We did some testing at the UFC PI. We went through a whole 3-day thing, and this is coming off of I would call it a bender. I mean, I was on a vacation bender. I do what most people do on vacation, a drink. I mean, I went to a lot of parties, and I trained casually, and I had that Polaris match where I literally puked like it was like an Exorcist scene right after the match was over against that guy Mike Grundy. Like I barely trained, so I need to get back on the horse and get into the UFC PI, doing the testing. Now I got the numbers back. Now this is for me to get the psychological aspect down. We know what the numbers look like. I can increase my strength in certain areas. I got a 71-inch reach, 5'7", 34. I'm not getting any younger, so I'm ready to just make this splash in a big way, and I want one of the biggest names in the sport, and that's Max Holloway.
What's the walking around weight in this new weight division for the Funkmaster? What are you walking around at?
This morning I was 71. When I did the testing, I was 73. So now that I'm training, I'm like fluctuating up and down, but it's like water weight though. Once you start sweating, go through a couple of wrestling workouts, the weight comes down. I could get back down to 65 in like 2 days. Doesn't take very long, but then even then, it's still 30 pounds to get back down to. To get back down to 135 is just crazy, man. And the testing that I did, it showed me my fat-free body mass, which is removing all the fat from your body, which is impossible because you need that, otherwise you die, right? You got to have something. I was 147.6 pounds from the DEXA scan. That's the lowest I should be able to physically get down to, removing all the fat. So just imagine how many times I've done that to my body, going up, coming back down, going up, coming back down. All the fasted training sessions I've done, fasted sparring sessions I've done, just to get down to the weight class. I've been doing it for a couple of years, and I've been feeling like it's been hurting my performance on fight night in comparison to how I look in the room. And I've been saying that for a while now. Like, I've been winning, so it's like no one's really paying it any mind. But I've been saying it for a long time. Like, man, I just don't know. Even the last one, win or lose, I said more than likely I'm about 99% sure I'm going to go up to 145. Like, even thinking about going back down to 135, my brain and my heart starts to hurt. I'm looking at the scale, and like, that's my worst enemy. I'm just like, yo, stay back, baby, stay back.
We got to get you on a David Goggins Hell Week. Maybe that could get you back into shape for the 135-pound weight division.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if that I don't know if that's working other than just not eating and breaking down the muscle and getting back down, man. This is 170 something pounds. You know what I mean? I'm lean. I still have some type of physical shape. So it's like, what am I doing to myself? And I got room to get stronger. And that's what I like about this. When they start talking to me about eating before workouts, I was like, that would be so nice. That would be so nice. I haven't done that in years. So that would be amazing. I'm looking forward to it, man. We'll see how the first one goes and then kind of go from there and see what's left in the tank for the rest of my career.
So let's talk about that. So obviously the fast track to getting the opportunity at the 145-pound strap would be Max Holloway. But let's just say he's booked or he doesn't want that fight. Are there other names on your list that you're willing to do? Because the Schmo knows you want another crack at gold.
Yeah, I think the Kattar fight would be a fun one. I think stylistically, it's a good matchup for me. He's a bigger dude. A lot of people were trying to tell me that he's not that much bigger than me. I mean, I stood next to him. I always felt like he was a big dude. He's kind of tall, rangy. I don't know how strong he is. We've grappled when I was actually an amateur back at Team Bomb Squad. Him and his team, the White Crew, came down. Fun fact, I actually didn't know who he was. I was an amateur fighter at the time. I think he was just turning pro. Um, we both didn't really know much. I just saw something I saw on YouTube and I tried it and it worked. It was a flying triangle and I was surprised. Now I look back, we've talked about that like when they came back and I forgot where we were, but we talked about them coming down to Bomb Squad and getting and working with those guys. I've never actually sparred with him, but we did some grappling way back then. What was that, like 2010? It doesn't count for shit now, but it's uh, it's just interesting to see how both of our careers kind of came full circle. And that's if that fight doesn't happen with Max, I think that would be another fun one. No malice, no bad blood. It'd just be a hard nosed East Coast versus Boston. And this would be a good way for me to get a big fuck you back to Boston would be out there to go out there and get Calvin Kattar out of there.
Boston wasn't too kind to you, Funkmaster.
No, they weren't. But you know, it's like when people get into the arena, they want to be that, and then when they see me outside, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I just had to because you're a New Yorker, you're in Boston. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's sports. I don't mind it. Some people think I feel bad about my career or my life. I'm like, dude, I have a great freaking life. Like, no matter what people want to say in terms of how things shaked out for me, I think I made it work. I did it at the highest level, defended my belt multiple times, achieved a lot of the goals I had on my paper that I posted about from 2019, 2015, and here I am today. You know, this is just another story in my journey, and whoever it is, I mean, I don't mind the Boston fans. It's just I just like to get even sometimes, and what better way would it be to do it against one of Boston's own?
So it sounds like this is the last final phase of the career for the Funkmaster. So ideally, what does this chapter look like for you? What does the perfect picture look like? Because like I mentioned, you achieved it all in the 135-pound weight division.
I think I could do anywhere from 4 to 8 more fights. MMA, I think I could realistically do that. It just depends on how these next few fights go, making sure I do the right things, keep my body together, keep my neck in order, make sure that doesn't get any worse. Uh, I've been, I'm not even gonna talk about that, but injuries happen, man. It comes with father time, so I'm just trying to do the right things and get ready to just finish out the career strong. I would like nothing better than to finish out strong against some of the biggest names in the sport, and you know, give the fans, my fans, the haters, and whatever, just give them something to look forward to in the sense of what's next for me.
Let's talk about big fight that's happening December 16th. Leon Rocky Edwards defending the welterweight strap against Colby Covington. We saw what Leon Edwards did not once but twice against Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman having that championship pedigree with the wrestling. Colby Covington known for the wrestling. Is there anything Colby Covington can do that you think would upset the champion and beat Leon Rocky Edwards?
Uh, I think this is a great matchup. I know a lot of people are probably counting out Colby, but I'm just like, how do you count out one of the guys who went toe to toe twice with? I mean, that stoppage should have never happened. That's just my personal opinion. In that first one with Usman, not saying he wasn't hurt, but I just don't think it was a right stoppage when a guy's in on a single leg and he's trying to build up. It's just not the right time to jump in and say, I think you've had enough. That's just a personal call versus what's actually happening in the situation. But people are entitled to their opinion. Um, for him to do that with a guy like that take down Usman twice, I believe, once in each fight. Uh, I think stylistically it was hard for him to implement that wrestling style against a strong wrestler who had a good base. Against Leon, it's a little different. He doesn't have such a strong wrestling base. He has good defensive wrestling, but a guy like Colby is willing to chain wrestle and push the gas tank and continuously shoot over and over, push you against the cage, make it a dirty fight, and he's going to be active there. So that's what I want to see. Can Leon Edwards keep him off of him? And then when he does keep him off of him, can he land the strikes that he needs to touch him up enough to drain that energy tank and discourage him enough to either get a finish or to score enough points to win the fight? I do think sometimes Leon, his output could be relatively low, but he's super accurate. That's the difference. Super accurate. So when he does land, usually he hurts guys. But the activity of him being so low gives a guy like Colby, who's a little bit more of a in your face Merab type of style. I'm just going to keep going forward and gas pedal you. That's what makes it interesting. And I can't call it. If I always bet on the wrestler, but we've seen even with my fight, the striker won. So it's just one of those things. You just never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to be going through Colby's head. He might throw a bad punch and get clipped. And yeah, it is what it is. So I don't know who's going to win that. I don't want to bet. I like both guys. I'm a huge Colby fan. I think his style is one of the best to watch, especially as a wrestler coming up in the sport. And then Leon, his story is amazing just to see what he's come from, what he's endured. And it reminds me of myself how many different times the UFC's tried to not give him a crack at the title. And then he was able to kind of shine through after all the circumstances fell into place for him. Like, I wasn't supposed to get the shot. Sandhagen, thankfully, he beat Moraes. Thankfully, he beat Frankie Edgar. And thankfully, Frankie lost, barely beat Pedro Munoz, giving me an opportunity to fight for the world title because everyone else was eliminated because I had beat Cory Sandhagen. So it's a very similar situation for Leon Edwards, defying the odds, becoming the champ, one shot, take out the pound for pound guy, and did it again in the second fight. So it's a good fight, and I'm looking forward to it.
If you were Cory Sandhagen, speaking of Sandhagen, what would you be doing next?
They're giving him Umar, man. Unfortunately for him, it's shitty because if he had not tore his tricep, he would be fighting Sean next. And I still even think that's weird because he beats Rob Font on short notice. Should he leapfrog Merab, being that Merab is the number one contender? People can say whatever they want. Merab was never offered a title shot. When I was champ, he was never offered a title shot. So that narrative is one of the dumbest, densest things I keep hearing. Oh, you denied him from a title shot. He was never given one. He was never offered one. If he was offered one, that's a different conversation. We never had that conversation because we never got to that point. Now, with that being said, Merab beat the guy that Sean O'Malley beat. O'Malley got to wait. Now, why is it that Merab didn't get the next shot after beating the boogeyman? You know what I mean? So it's unfortunate that he's going to have to go through one more former champion in Henry Cejudo in order to get that crack at the title. But I'm going to be there with him every step of the way to give him the best looks that he needs. Obviously, I'm a lot bigger, taller. But to give him the best looks, make sure he's doing the right type of training and things like that to get him prepared. But if I'm Sandhagen, I would be kicking myself like, damn, maybe I should have sat that one out and just waited and the doors would have opened up for him. We just never know what's going to happen. That's why I like the sport. But at the same time, it could just rub you the wrong way a little bit because sometimes life is not fair and we just got to deal with it.
Put yourself in Dana White's shoes. What would you do if you were in his shoes about the heavyweight division? How would you keep this thing moving forward? Because we got a log jam right now. Obviously, we got John Jones waiting for Stipe. Stipe waiting for John Jones. Tom Aspinall, the interim champion. He's game. He wants to fight. What would you do to keep this thing moving forward?
It's weird because they should never have done an interim title. They did an interim title because that card needed 2 title fights. That's like one of the things that they do for the pay-per-view. Most of them need to have 1 to 2 title fights, usually 2. So they're put in a situation now that gets a little uncomfortable because now they make an interim championship that's worth nothing. So it's good for Tom because he's going to get his guaranteed pay-per-view points when he fights either the winner, whether that's Stipe or John Jones. So he's good. But it's just annoying from a fighter perspective. But if I'm Dana White, what do I do as a promoter? I mean, you don't want to lose that historical matchup of having one of the greatest heavyweights of all time versus one of the greatest to ever do it of all time. And that's the thing that we're risking if Aspinall fights Stipe. So, if you're asking me what would I do as a promoter, and I'm Dana White, Dana White doesn't give a fuck, and he could do whatever the hell he wants, so it doesn't matter. So if I'm him and I'm just looking at the dollar signs, maybe I make Aspinall fight to stay busy and pull the curtains over the fans for one more fight. Like, oh, no, don't look over here. Look at this. Aspinall's fighting this guy for the belt. And then after this, oh, hey, guys, look at this. John Jones is now going to fight Stipe. But what happened to the interim champ? I don't know. Don't look at that. Look at this, guys. Look, this is shiny. I'm telling you, like, this is amazing. That's what he's going to do. If it is what it is.
Does he get a ruby if he successfully defends the interim belt on the interim belt?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Comes with pay-per-view points. Good for Aspinall. If I'm Aspinall, I'm pushing to stay active. And give me somebody else. Then if you're not going to give me the fight, don't put me on ice for maybe a year. That's kind of crazy. Because John, he recently had the surgery. I don't know how long it takes to pec. I would imagine 6 months. And then at 6 months, at heavyweight, it's a different thing for him now, right? So he's got to be strong. He's got to be able to get his wrestling in. And he's probably going to have to go through those sequences all over again, get comfortable psychologically to get through that. Because I don't think John's ever really had any surgeries, from what I know. He's always just kind of had like little nicks and bruises, but he's never had any major surgeries. This is, I think, from what I understand and remember, this is going to be his first one. So psychologically, and then after that, get into shape. And it's not easy to get into shape. And with a torn pec, what are you going to do? Ride the bike? How fast can you ride the bike with one arm? Like, you can just pump in your legs. There's not much you could do until you can actually physically get your whole body into it. You could do certain things, movements and things like that. But that's like, for a mixed martial artist to get ready for a title fight, 5 rounds against a big boy like that, I need to make sure that I'm on my P's and Q's. And John leaves no stones unturned. If you watch the way he studies his opponents, he's like all the way invested.
The Schmo's going to give you 3 names. Of these 3 names, who's most likely to compete at UFC 300? Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, or Nick Diaz?
Conor McGregor. I think Conor. Of that 3, it has to be Conor. Do you think USADA was kind of pushed to the side so that Conor could come back?
Not necessarily. I think it's great timing. However, one could speculate, right?
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation because I don't know what actually caused that to happen. I'm not saying I'm happy or mad about it. Like, I don't really give a shit. Either way, we still have some type of testing. So we still got to do the whereabouts. They're still going to be come knocking on our door at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. So it's going to be business as usual. But I do wonder, how does that affect things for Conor to come back with the samples that he needed to come back in the time frame that they were saying he needs to wait for? I mean, I want to see Conor fight. Chandler said he doesn't give a shit. So if they both want to get on shit, let them have a gentleman's agreement. Let them do it. Have at it. But for me, my opponents, no, absolutely not. I want to fight the cleanest people out there. I mean, it is what it is.
Certainly is. Can we get a final message for all the Funkmaster fans out there worldwide?
Final message. The Funk will be back with a vengeance on his attack. Punching power like no other. Protect your baby mother. I couldn't think of anything else. That's all I got.
That works. You got to be very careful with your words these days because a lot of people on the internet, they're looking for anything they can get on people.
They wagging.
He's the pro. I'm the Schmo. Funkmaster Studios. Welcome home, baby. We're out.